not just women are in danger, but all marginalized people, where being uniquely different right now might truly be considered a crime. It seems as though we had all slipped into a false sense of comfort, that justice would prevail and that good would win in the end. Well, good did not win this election, but good will win in the end. So what today means is that we are far from the end. Today marks the beginning of our story. The revolution starts here. The fight for the right to be free, to be who we are, to be equal. Let's march together through this darkness, and with each step, know that we are not afraid. That we are not alone. That we will not back down. That there is power in our unity, and that no opposing force stands a chance in the face of true solidarity. And to our detractors that insist that this march will never add up to anything,
Boston Red here with Friday Java, a weekly magazine of political theory, polling, and commentary. It is part of the history called people that make up this fascinating journey. We are part of the Obama network. For that, we make no apologies. What we pledge to do is give you the facts on a bridge to history, what body politics is, the most up-to-date theories of political science and psychology. Stay tuned for this incredible ride. Boston Red, peace out.
Friday Java on the second day of March 2018. This is our first presentation of March. So we roll right along here from WBRN Radio in Boston on the Boston Red Network. We have some climatic conditions coming in, and we'll go to it first. The northeast area boarded up there along the northeast coast, expect to lose homes during the storm. This is from the Globe on the 1st of March. Powerful storms expecting to lash the state's coast into the weekend, whipping up high winds, towering waves that could destroy seaside homes and put lives in danger while dumping heavy wet snow on the interior section of the state. That's from officials there. I can't stress enough, that's from old Charlie Baker. This is not a snowstorm, but a heck of a storm, and people needed to take it seriously. Baker activated the National Guard to help in coastal communities. We expect to lose houses during this storm. That's from Kurt Swartz, director of the Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency. The National Service, which incidentally DJ Trump wants to cut, cautioned that moderate to major coastal flooding is expected along the eastern shores of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the outer Cape and Islands, while the southern shore of the Bay State and Rhode Island are expected to see minor flooding. For those living along the coast, this is a life-or-death situation. Please heed the advisories of local officials. That service said that on Twitter. Baker said the storm, coupled with high tides, that could disrupt the Blue Line, that is the MTA's Blue Line service, later today. Bus shuttles would get commuters to where they're going if parts of the subway temporarily are shut down. We're asking workers that locate in the area where flooding is tends to occur, like sections of a Seaport District in the north end, to consider closing or allowing workers to work from home today. This is Friday. The storm concludes Friday night with a full moon that will bring astrologically high tides, worsening the flooding situation. That's according to Kim Buttrick, a meteorologist with the service. The storm issued winter storm warning from Friday afternoon to about 4 a.m. on Saturday morning for northeast parts of Worcester and Middlesex counties. Northern Worcester County could see up to 6 to 12 inches of snow, with 3 to 6 inches possible in southern parts of the county. Given the temperatures, she said this will be a heavy, wet snow that will bring down tree limbs, and that complicates the situation. Also, coastal flood warnings for the North Cape, Nantucket, Marpet Vineyard. That's from 9 this morning to about 3 a.m. on Sunday. High wind warnings for these areas from 10 a.m. today to 10 a.m. on Saturday. This is just such a powerful system. It's going to take on its own kind of momentum and energy. That's from the spokesman there. This is a multifaceted storm, so one does have to look at it. The Boston Public Schools and other city service agencies expected to operate normal hours, but already Thursday officials at public schools in Quincy, Dilbury, Hull, and Mansfield, according to online postings from the district, they are closed today, incidentally. Advanced storm, the NBTA canceled ferry operations out of Hedingham and Charlestown. The T plans to increase its seating capacity on the Greenbush commuter rail line so ferry riders can complete their journey. We're planning to operate normal service, and we'll have teams in place to deal with arising issues, although we can expect challenging conditions from, of course, high winds, rainfall, etc. And this is with snow. William Day Boulevard, that's in South Boston, the area of Morsey Boulevard between Freeport Street and the University of Massachusetts, Boston. Boat will close at 9 a.m. Latest day. That is about 2 hours. The department said Morsey will close between Freeport and the Sponsel Circle if necessary. And what else do we have here? Reserve Fire Chief said rescue swimmers will be on duty during the storm, and rubber rafts, boats, flotation devices, etc. to deploy from stations on Revere Beach Parkway and Freeman Street. So they are getting ready for the ensuing storm, and these are to be taken seriously, no doubt about it. If you're in the path of the storm, be advised to move, quote-unquote, to higher ground. Not only you have full moons, and an old sailor will tell you there, the tides themselves are upon you, basically speaking. Let's see if we can get to the latest here. Basically, that is it from what the Globe has. Marches northeaster, not unusual. See, we've put the map up here. These maps show just how bad the impending nor'easter could be, and remember how bad flooding was during the January 4th storm. A nor'easter that is barreling towards the region could be worse, forecasters say. A storm is expected to arrive in New England, so it's already here, literally speaking. possible Friday into Saturday in Eastern Mass. A bunch of maps here. We'll put these up on the Boston Red Facebook page. The map is continuously moving along, so we'll be cognizant of that. High tide will hit later today around and again around midnight today. We'll have more on the week if it was, no doubt. So some very nice maps here. We will put this also on our Twitter feed, so we'll get all this out here. Check out the Globe, and of course the National Service. They will have this information also out there for the general public. And this is where the National Weather Service is very, very important to ordinary people. We'll move on here to the Washington Post. A number of articles from the Post. We won't cover this in full here, but this is proton therapy attacks cancer. These once exotic weapons in the cancer fighting arsenal are getting faster, cheaper, and more common. This is from the Post here. The Medical Star at Georgetown University campus is the 28th Proton Therapy Center, which is set to begin treating patients this month. It's a small but state-of-the-art, designed to attack tumors more quickly than its predecessor in proton therapy. A precise type of radiation treatment that spares the tissue. I've had radiation before, so I can tell you about that. For prostate cancer, this is probably a better solution for that. All types of radiation treatment break the DNA cells, which make it harder for them to multiply. Rapidly dividing cancer cells are particularly susceptible to this kind of damage, so tumors shrink or disappear. No doubt. The difference between traditional radiation and proton therapy is how the radiation is delivered. Traditional therapy irradiates tumors with X-rays, which are beams of protons, and all tissue around it. The beam's path gets a small dose of radiation. Proton therapy uses beams of protons, charged subatomic particles that can be controlled with magnets. A small amount of radiation is deposited on the way into the body, and most go directly into the tumor, and none pass through the other side. That means, excuse me, for instance, the radiation in the tumor on one side of the brain won't harm the healthy side of the brain. The beam is aimed at a spinal tumor, won't reach the heart or the lung behind it. Very important that you deliver a high dosage to where you need it and spare the tissue around it. That's from the chair of the Radiation Oncology Department at Georgetown. Because more radiation reaches the tumor, it's a smaller dose is required. And this is basically the way they're going. The MedStar Georgetown spins protons in a 15-ton accelerator called a cyclotron, and releases them when they reach 2/3 speed of light. This circular system takes up much less space than other type of proton accelerators, and like anything else in an evolutionary situation where the proton therapies and all therapies in general will get better as years go out. The cyclocooler, which keeps the superconducting magnet at minus 452 degrees. That's Fahrenheit. Hey, I'm not sure why they didn't do this in centigrade, but anyway, neither here nor there. And shows a picture of the beam enters the patient in pulses and irradiating the tumor layer by layer, much like a 3D printer operates. They have these all over the West Coast and various other places. The children, of course, will benefit proton therapy because more of their normal cells developing rapidly, making them more prone to damage. Who doesn't benefit? For some cancers, less precision is helpful. The former treatment, for instance, requires a wide radius around the lymph nodes because of the way the cancer grows and spreads. And systematic cancers such as leukemia could not be treated by proton therapy alone. Many common cancers fall into the gray area where doctors and patients need to weigh risks and benefits of different types of treatments. There, proton therapy has been controversial when used routinely for some types of cancer, notably prostate cancer, because data, and this is one of the things, as we get more of these centers up, we'll have more data comparing outcomes with other treatments is slim, and because it's more expensive than traditional radiation. And this is it tends to be one of the problems, the reason you go to a single payer, we could save a lot of money. Since both issues may begin to be resolved, this is Brian Cabinell. He's the chair of the American Society for Radiation Oncology. Several large clinical trials comparing treatment methods should yield solid data the next couple of years. The Georgetown Small Center, which has one treatment bay, cost $39.7 million, including the building. It's not very bad at all. The Sibley, much larger four-bay center will cost $157 million. Not very much when you start talking about cruise and missiles or so. That's what, about 40 or less of those. Kavanaugh says he expects the tech innovation may cut costs by half. That's the next 5 to 6 years within the cycle. Competition is good. This is from Kavanaugh. Nowadays, cancer patients can receive excellent therapy with either proton or non-proton based radiation. If I would throw this in, and let's see, we'll run down to Georgia here. This is Georgia, the state capital. Man, this is from the Atlanta Cagle, I suppose is how Cagle, Cagle. Anyway, occasionally here is Casey Cagle was their candidate for governor. The months leading up to this year, the General Assembly session, he is lieutenant governor, lobbyists, political action committees, legacy donors who traditionally, side with the winners in the governor's race, poured money into Cagle's bid to replace Nathan Dill, according to reviews of campaigns following by the Constitution. Besides being their bidding favorite, the lobbyist PACs, corporations have another reason to support Cagle as the Senate president. He is somebody they need to keep block back their legislation during the session. This is by James Salter, incidentally. He is presiding over the state of the Senate. Therefore, all legislation going before the Senate is overlooked or guided by the lieutenant governor. That's from a veteran lobbyist, Sam Mo Fresh, who is betting that, is battling legislation that could increase taxes on Georgians who buy used cars. He is our leader in the Senate, and we're going to support him as the leader of the state Senate. Such overwhelming support from the capitalists cemented Cagle's status as the front runner in the race. In 6 months leading up to the session, Cagle's campaign raised $137,000 from 50 state house lobbyists, their family members, an additional $200,000 from PACS. The nursing home industry, which relies on about $1 billion in state aid, contributed over $100,000 to his coffers. About 75 automobile dealers, and no doubt used car operators, some of whom back and some of whom oppose the legislation on car taxes, contributed about $145,000. Executives at Senate, a St. Louis company that has one of the largest healthcare contractors, contributed $70,000. Other traditional major donors, top road contractors such as C.W. Matthews and so forth and so on. Even Delta Airlines. This is the fellow that has torpedoed the Delta airline exception. So, therefore, is a very, very big problem going forward there. And let's just check the front page of the Atlanta Constitution while we are here. This is a poll involving this Kaylee character and the NRA, no doubt. Pence will be there. This is by Bluestein, Greg Bluestein, in a sizable, in pre-NRA flip poll, occasionally, and Abrams built a sizable leads here. And a poll released shows Republican Casey Casely with a formal advantage in the GOP race, and Democrat Stacey Abrams with a double-digit lead. This is a Mason-Dixon poll. Casely tops with 27% of likely primary voters, a dead heat to second place. Secretary of State Brian Kemp, 13%, and Clay Tippins, 12%. In other words, there's a bunch of characters here that it's scattered up. Basically speaking, we put 27%, 25%. These other characters, 13, 12, and 11 there, trailing behind State Senator Michael Williams with 5%, and so forth and so on. The poll was conducted between the 20th and 23rd. That was before they rejected the Delta tax break, and it's out of there now. And it cost Delta, I think, about $40-50 million. Of likely Democrats show Abrams leading us former state Senator Stacey Evans by 29 to 17. 54% still undecided. There's a lot of undecided people out there. Both of them not yet. Casely has been the preemptive front runner in the GOP contest. A majority vote before the Delta feud. Spotlight Casely shelled out $4.4 million for 6 weeks of ads. Last month, outside groups backing him another $1.2 million. In the general election contest, polls show Casely with a lead over both Evans and Abrams, who once was the top Democrat in the Georgia House. The margins are close in a matchup between most of the other candidates. So this is where this Casely character is, and I'm not sure who all these birds are here. Oh, there's Casely. The Democratic nominee Stacey Abrams. An interesting contest coming up here between these very actions. Stacey Abrams is an American politician, lawyer, business type, who was the minority leader for the Georgia Assembly. So she has been there. people to vote. She's an African American from Madison, Wisconsin, born in 1973. There, and that is her mark. A very interesting race, I suppose, shaping up here in Georgia. From Gulfport, Mississippi, it says here, one of 6. And she earned a bachelor's in the party disciplines, studies in economics from Spelman College. And she worked for Maynard Jackson, late mayor there. And she studied public policy at the University of Texas, Austin. And she received her GED from Yale University Law School. So she has been around, no doubt about that. She's the first woman to lead either party in the Georgia General Assembly, the first African American to lead in the House of Representatives. Abrams has published articles on issues of public policy, etc. Worked as a tax attorney in Atlanta, Georgia there. So she's running now for governor in the Democratic primary. Is one of 6, I see. Anyway, out of Mississippi, her sister is Leslie Abrams, and I have no idea who Leslie Abrams is, but again, this is... let's see. He's 44 years old. Oh, wait a minute here. And was born actually in Madison, Wisconsin. And she was raised in Gulfport, Mississippi. So we'll get that little biographical information out there. And let's look at some polling here. We have the people from the University of Virginia, Charlottesville. We'll come up with them later here. This is a Thursday poll here. Old DJ Trump had 49%. This Rasmussen is an outlier. Not much there. Let's see. Congressional ballot, we looked at this. So this is from USA Today. A Suffolk poll, anyway. Has Democrats up by 15 on the generic ballot. And let's see what else. On Wednesday, we had some approval ratings. YouGov, that is an online poll, had old DJ Trump at 44%, Reuters at 40%, kind of all over the place here. Generic ballot, Democrats up by 6, that's from Reuters. Democrats up by 2 from YouGov. So it's all over, no doubt about that. The Suffolk poll showed voters favoring Democrats in midterm approach. This is Greg Catlin. When it comes to electing House members, 47% of the voters say they would be more likely to vote for a Democrat, with 32% saying that they would choose a Republican, 6% want neither. In terms of general opinion of the parties, the Democratic Party stands at 48% unfavorable and 37% favorable. The Republican Party is 60% unfavorable and 27% favorable. A larger majority, shot by here, 75% disapprove of the job that Congress does. Changes may be in the win for Congress. Voters indicating a general turning away from the Republican Party. That is from Dr. David Peglotis, the director of Suffolk University Political Research Center in Boston. We are looking at... We also are seeing a chance in voter issues that they most care about. A change, the gun violence is a major concern, whereas in the past, general concern was the economy, terrorism issues. Those are issues the Democrats don't do as well as Republicans. Voters who care most about. However, if it remains to be seen what these issues, and it's a long ways to election in November, And I was talking with a doctor yesterday about that. Don't be too enthusiastic. Have a long, long ways to go. In an open-end question, voters chose gun control, a Second Amendment, 12%, and school safety, 6% of the most important issues affecting the congressional race. Now, this could change, and it normally does change here. And let's see. Russian election meddling. This is an issue that's got some traction. 56% of the voters polled said they trust the fairness of special counsel Mueller. The investigation is leading to possible ties between the DJ Trump campaign and Russian bureaucracy. 57% said they do not trust DJ Trump. The charges thus far investigation target 19 people, including 3 former associates, Trump associates, who have, of course, pled guilty. 3 companies, 75% of those polled say that they take these charges very somewhat seriously, with 20%, but do not. 69% believe the Russians have made a serious effort to interfere in the 2016 election. 60% said the president is not doing enough to respond to it, compared to 26% said that he is. Americans are clearly concerned and about the Russian influence in the system. That's from the old Cold War days. That's from Dr. Pegalali. Did a better job the first time. He's director of the poll in Boston. While the president has launched regular Twitter storms derailing the investigation, our polls show that the most voters are not swayed by his messaging. Excuse me. With 67% of the voters say that they believe the Russians made a serious effort to impact the election. 44% said they don't. It's a fairly large percentage believe the outcome was effective, with 42% believe that it was. So this in itself is the polling as of yet, and this is a hardest situation for people to get their heads around. Although they agree that the Russian is a generic thing, interfered, what effect did it have, based upon other things that are out there, such as micro-targeting. We'll do an episode on it, how people were micro-targeted in, say, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, to rural areas that cared about infrastructure. Now, this was a Democratic issue, no doubt about it. Trump talks about infrastructure, but it's a different type of infrastructure. Spending with both public and private, a lot of toll roads from Tippecanoe to Tyler to those are the kinds of things that are totally different. Now, will these issues radiate? Perhaps so. The Russian issue, again, is something the Democrats were banking on. We at this mic see it as perhaps not one of the issues that they should be on. They have hit a chord with the violence in Parkland Hospital Medical Center in Florida. Students out there, unfortunately, the students rally for the mall. Another small group with 2 tables evidently put in a permit before they did. So the 24th, that's kind of up in the air, the date that is. So they'll have to find another location where they hope to bring 400,000 plus people to Washington. That doesn't mean the momentum is not there. This was a nationwide poll of 1,000 people conducted the 20th through 24th of February. Let's go to the people, excuse me, at the University of Virginia, Charlottesville. There's Dr. Larry Sabato's shop, and this is written by Rhodes Cook. At the Crystal Ball there, short coattail from DJ Trump. And it says here, in 2016, DJ Trump ran ahead in just 24 of 214 Republican House winners and only 22 Republican Senate winners. So it may or may not have. A lot of the coattail effects will be determined by polling in mid to late October. And looking at state-by-state polling, not necessarily averages that were real clear politics, but those pollings and where the candidates are. If some are in the margin of error, you need to think about it before jumping on a bandwagon there. Now you always have some blowout races here. The only time Trump has a chance to exhibit his coattails pull came on the eve of November. That was a general election when he was elected with a solid 304 electoral votes, but only 41.1% of the popular vote, 2.1 percentage points between he and Hillary Clinton. Of the 241 Republican House candidates elected at the same time, he outran them. 24 of them are pulled away, 1 in 10. Smallest percentage demonstrated by a presidential winner since 1992. Now, that was a three-way contest with Bill Clinton getting 43% of the vote in a three-way race with George H.W. Bush and Ross Perot. Had it not been for Ross Perot, Bill Clinton would have lost the election. The same goes for the Senate, where Trump ran ahead of just 5 of 22. All Trump's led senators were in red America. Blunt in Missouri, Bozeman out in Arkansas, Lisa Murkowski, who was involved in a freeway race out in Alaska, Rand Paul in Kentucky, and Todd Young of Indiana. As Bozeman, we don't worry about him in Arkansas. Arkansas, a very red state now, used to be the home state of Wild Bill Clinton. Anyway, it's Lisa Murkowski. Well, that was a freeway race out there. Different situation where he ran ahead, of just 5. But again, there was a lot of problems going on there. He trailed Pat Toomey. Pat Toomey is in Pennsylvania by a 16th percentage point. It makes it pretty close. Richard Burr down in North Carolina, who always runs close races, 1.3%. Marco Vegas Rubio in Florida by 3 points. And Ron Plastic Factory Johnson in Wisconsin by 3 points there. And John McCain in Arizona by 5 points, and Portland in Ohio by 6 points. So this is where he trailed, and that'll be very interesting out in Arizona. Senator McCain, of course, ill now with brain cancer. Wisconsin Plastics Johnson won't be on the poll. They're a very, very close state in a state of Wisconsin. Now, ran ahead of the state Republican. I'm just looking at their map here. That was in Missouri, Arkansas, Indiana, and Kentucky. Ran behind the winners in such states as Idaho, Utah, Arizona, North and South Dakota, Kansas, Oklahoma, Iowa, Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania, North and South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, and Florida. That tells you a little bit about what was going on there. We've already named the others there, and Toomey, Burr, in Alabama, Selby. Trump did end up with 62.1% of the votes, Selby 64. In Oklahoma, Langsford, Trump got 65.3%, James Langsford 67% there. Marco Vegas Rubio got 52%. Trump got 49%. That was in Florida. Moran in Kansas. It was at DJ Trump at 56.7, Moran at 62.2. Charles Grassley, old man Grassley, got 60.1%. DJ Trump at 51.1%. In Iowa, South Dakota, Thune, 71.8%. DJ Trump, 61.5%. Out in Utah, Lee, a place where we were talking about, Trump's not very well liked at all, 45.5%. And Mike Lee at 68.2%. That's a 22.7% deficit there. So that basically tells people where they are. And in the House, Trump ran behind a bunch of people. Alabama, won't name all these. Martha Roby ran ahead of 24. Martha Roby is a sort of a moderate type. He had 64.9%. She had 48.8%. And I won't get into some of these other people. They're not very well known at all. They're from West Virginia to Kansas, where Trump ran a little better than them. And in places like Wisconsin, that is little Pauli Ryan's district there, Trump got 52.6% down there, and Ryan got 64.9%. Kevin McCarthy, that's in California, 23. He got 69.2. Trump 58.1. Stephen Scalise, I suppose how they pronounce that, down in Louisiana. He got 0.6. Trump 68.7. And so forth and so on. And in the South, that's where the Republicans, it's sort of a switch from where the Democrats used to be. 109 House seats in the South. Number of districts for Trump, 8 anyway. In the Midwest, 61 Republicans out in the Midwest. And in the West, 39, and very, very lucky indeed. And in Northeast, 32. That would be 240 there. So the percentage in the far right column of the regional chart, they have 13 states. These are the southern states: Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, North Carolina, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, and Virginia. In the Midwest, 12 states: Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, Nebraska, North Dakota, Ohio, South Dakota, and Wisconsin. That's the percentage in the far right column, regional there. The analysis is based on the old Pennsylvania House model. Anyway, in the western states, Arizona, Alaska, California, 13 states, And we won't really go much into that, the coattail effects here. Since 1956, I think we go back to I Like Ike. We do, indeed. Eisenhower districts are carried by the president, 329. House seats won by the president's party, 201. And districts in which the president ran ahead of House winners, 155. So forth and so on. And then we get to John F. Kennedy, 22. Lyndon Johnson, 134. Tricky Dick Nixon, 104. These districts which the president ran ahead of the House winner. Jimmy Carter of Georgia, 22. Ronald Reagan, 38 and 59. A little more sober in those days. George H.W. Bush, 26. Bill Clinton, 5. That was in 1992. In his second race, 45, where he ran ahead. And G.W. Bush, 26. That was in 2000 when the election was stolen, 2004. 39. Barack Obama, 36. That was in 2008, the most racist election. And 61 in 2012, 2016. DJ Trump at 24. So that says the coattails were not very long. We'll do the sports here, and we'll fly through these very quickly. Starting with the National Basketball Association. The Lakers were at the Heat. Lakers 131 to 113. And in overtime, the Nets were at the Kings. Kings 116 to 111. And the T-Wolves were out in Portland. The Trailblazers 108 to 99. Major League Baseball. Finally got our baseball package from Major League Baseball. Anyway, Atlanta versus the Tigers at 5-2. Atlanta. The Nationals and Atlanta. Nationals 6-2. This is spring training, remember. The Red Sox and Astros. Astros 10-5. That winning weighs on. The Yankees and Phillies. The Yankees 6-4. The Blue Jays and Pirates. Pirates 4-1 that contest. Twins and Cardinals tied up 3-3. The Orioles and Rays of Tampa. Orioles 5-2. The Marlins and Mets 3-2. Marlins, excuse me. The Rangers and Athletics of Oakland. Rangers as 6-4. The Padres and Rangers a 9-9 tie in that one. Rockies and the Cubs all tied up at 2-2. The White Sox and Reds 8-7. Cleveland and the Dodgers. Cleveland 8-7. And the Angels and Giants. Angels were all over the Giants 11-4. The Royals and Mariners 4-3. The Royals over the Mariners. And Brewers and Diamondbacks. Brewers 6-1. And that does it there. And on to college basketball. Big one here. Number 1 Virginia and Louisville. Virginia 67-66. 1 point. Very, very close game there. Number 10 Cincy and Tulane. It was all Cincy. 78-48. Wichita State. Number 11 and UCF. It was Wichita State. The Strikers 75-71. And overtime, Iowa number 15, Michigan 77-71 that contest. Stanford and number 19, Arizona 75-67, and Western Kentucky. Don't hear as much of them, but number 24, Middle Tennessee 82-64. And to the National Hockey League, the Penguins and Bruins 8-4. The Hurricanes and Flyers, Hurricanes 4-1 in that contest. The Devils and Panthers 3-2. The Lightning and the Stars, they were in Dallas, Lightning 5-4 in overtime. And the Predators and Oilers, it was Predators 4-2. And the Wild and Coyotes 5-3. The Blackhawks and Sharks of San Jose 7-2. Sharks over the Blackhawks. And finally the Blue Jackets and the Kings. Kings 5-2. And I don't know about the soccer scores or what we'll get, if anything, here. We're just getting we have some, but they're a bit exotic, so we won't bother with them. Nonetheless, we'll have an open source report this weekend, finally. And we'll have numbers, man. The new Fed chair, Jerome Powell, has been testifying before the House and before the Senate. We'll figure something out on that testimony. Not sure how we'll do that now. It will present the testimony in a separate program, and then we'll present the economic conditions there. We'll figure it out. The week it was tomorrow on Saturday morning. Of course, we'll be here. And we'll look at some of these stories in a little bit more depth, supposedly, and we'll continue work on some African history stuff. We didn't get in on the short month. And we'll have, of course, the Monday morning quarterback on the political side, Boston Red. Have a good weekend, everyone. We'll talk to you on tomorrow, and we'll see how the storm turns out, the nor'easter here. And hopefully everyone doesn't float away. Good day. And have a good weekend. We said that.